Hi there, this is Arnold Mangioli for Grateful, Ready, Open, Willing. I'm delighted to see you, and I want to wish you a very happy celebration of love and creativity. That's what this is about this evening. And we're going to start with some cookies, some Oreos. Yes, it's an already open box, bag, whatever you call this sleeve. It doesn't have to be a new one. It'll work for this. These are some chocolate melts, and I'm putting those in here to get started. And these are some dark chocolate melts, and putting those in there to get started. So let's talk a little bit. I know that if you mention Valentine's Day, sometimes people get a little crazy. I mean, I've got my love shirt on, and I've got Justin Trudeau Talk Moistly to Me that the actress Colleen Winton sent me as a fundraiser for a local BC hospital during the pandemic. I'm just putting those chocolate melts in the microwave. We're going to check them at 30 seconds or so. It says to check them at 20. We've been doing this little baking series, and I know it may seem all over the place to some of you, but creativity is creativity, and love is love, and it's all good, and it's all got great value. So this is tonight an idea for the holiday weekend, and it's an idea for us to try some things out. For those who don't bake, this is really easy. For those who want to express love to friends, to neighbors, a treat for yourself, perhaps to a romantic interest, this is a really fast, easy thing you can do. You can get it done in 20 minutes, maybe even less. So what we're doing, let me check those. What we're doing is we are melting some chocolate melts, and you put them in there, and after, they say 20 seconds, but I always give it closer to 30 or 50 for the first round. As you have heated them and start to stir them, you'll get this kind of melted chocolate thing going on. So you stir them up a little bit, and then you put them back in for another 10 or 20 seconds. So we're going to go through this process very quickly. It's really, really simple. And I'm sharing it with you because it's a creative process. I mentioned in a previous video in this very limited baking series, I promise we're not always going to do this. It isn't a baking show, but it is an experience of creativity for us all. And for many of us working in the theater, we're not back yet. There's light at the end of the tunnel now. There's a little something on the horizon, which is awesome. But we're not back to work fully yet. So things like this are kind of great. So I mentioned in a previous one that preparation is important, just like any artistic or creative act. So I've got my cap on. This one's from the Lion King opening in Los Angeles some years ago that I worked on, and I've got my glass of water handy, I've got my supplies, and I've got my Elizabeth Taylor holy card, because if there's a patron saint of love and all that is graceful and beautiful, Elizabeth Taylor is it for me. So we've melted this chocolate, and now it is looking very rich and delicious. I don't know if the lighting is letting you see that, but it's kind of marvelous. So a friend of mine is a very gracious, speaking of Elizabeth Taylor and love and grace, a friend of mine is very, just an amazing person that way. And she hosted this marvelous Thanksgiving dinner, and then had this great idea. She could put Martha Stewart to shame. These are the white ones, and they're going in now. So what she did was all of her guests, she asked them to please write out their recipe, and she wanted to put together a beautiful, really nice printed cookbook of everyone's recipes of the dish that every guest brought to the Thanksgiving as a thank you for coming and for making your dish, so that everybody would have one another's recipes, which is just such a lovely and just a fantastic idea of something to do to make your holiday meal kind of interesting and fun. And she did it in a really classy way. I mean, it was a really nicely bound book. But one of their friends, one of their friends who was coming to them is a Cuban gentleman, and he made fried plantains, fried plátanos, for those of you who would call it by its Spanish name. So she asked him for the recipe, and he said, "They're fried plantains." And she said, "Yes, can I have the recipe?" And he said, they're fried plantains. There is no recipe. And she tried to explain to him. She finally had to, confess in advance what she was doing. She was hoping it would be a surprise. But she said, I need the recipe to put together in a cookbook. Could you please just write it out? And he really didn't understand. So he did for her. This is the only tricky part with this. You have to kind of check it several times until it's melty. Kind of like any creative process. Kind of like your acting when you're working on a scene or a song or some sides that we've given you for an audition. Perhaps you want to check in on it and stir it up every so often rather than just dive through, do it all in one way and expect the result would be a certain way. So this friend said he would write out the recipe for the fried plantains. He agreed, and he sent her a document that said, get plantains, cut, fry. That was the recipe. So chocolate covered Oreos are very similar. Get chocolate melting discs. I use the Ghirardelli. There's really only two major brands of these, and the online reviews all said that these were the best, and yeah, no reason they wouldn't be. So basically you get some melting chocolate discs, you melt them, you take the Oreos, you dip them. That's your recipe. Kind of like the fried plantain recipe. Remarkably simple. And the fun, of course, is in the decorating. So, in this creative process, I just want to say a few things that may be of value to you about Valentine's Day. And I know sometimes you just say the term Valentine's Day, and this is a lot about stirring. It's as much stirring as it is melting, just to keep that in mind for any other creative processes to which it might apply for you. Also, small increments. It's more of a process than a result. It's not 1 minute in the microwave and you're done. It's try for 30 seconds or so, add another 20 seconds, try for 10 seconds. Try not to burn them. Especially white chocolate. If you burn white chocolate, it doesn't really work. Gets kind of dirty brown looking. Okay, so we have our two chocolates now. Yeah, Valentine's Day is a really tricky holiday. People feel pressure from it, as some people do about Christmas as well. And those of you who've seen our Christmas series of videos and our holiday videos know I like to celebrate everything. I like to celebrate everything we can celebrate. I like to celebrate every day of life. It's as a friend said to me years ago, don't you think the stereotype of the French people in Paris coming home with the fresh flowers and the fresh loaf of bread every day, that it's just a celebration of life? Just fresh flowers and fresh bread. Yeah, I do think that. I love it. And hand-dipped Oreos are very similar. So celebration of life, celebration of love, celebration. They're just good. So what I want to say is that if you feel like Valentine's Day is a bogus holiday and it's a lot of crap and it's not worth it, you may be right. Because if you look at the statistics, you can look this up online. Valentine's Day is an $18 billion, $600 million holiday. That's the profit that is made off of Valentine's Day. Maybe this year it's going to be a little different because the coronavirus pandemic and the economy has shifted a bit, but Valentine's Day is a big one. $18.6 billion. That's crazy. But that's the reality of what it is. And that it seems kind of strange when St. Valentine was a martyr back in the 3rd century who was, beaten, stoned to death, and decapitated. So, sometimes we feel bad that no one's spending $18.6 billion on us. Sometimes I don't think we want to be beaten and stoned and decapitated or have anyone do that for us. But it works out to $139.97 per person in terms of what you spend. So here's my philosophy about it. If we're going to celebrate Valentine's Day or celebrate love or celebrate love and giving and kindness and just all that is beautiful in the world, and creativity, of course. What if we just spent $39.97? And what if we donated the $100 to a homeless shelter or something? Gave it to people who need it. How would that be? So I'm just going to go for a moment over to my refrigerator and get some of the Oreos I made just before this that are setting, so I can show you a little bit of decorating. Give me a moment. They are beautiful and so easy. You dip them in the melted chocolate. So, give me just a moment here because these are the toppings that I have. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff I had in my cabinets. Maybe you have those too. I don't know what this is exactly, but it's little red candies that you throw this in the microwave and melt it. I'm sure that's not a good idea, because the plastic and the microwave, that can't be good. But of course, the candy itself might have lots of preservatives in it. It's just a decoration. It's only once a year. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these Oreos and we're going to put it into the white chocolate. And we're going to take a fork and we're going to cover it, and then we're going to put it onto, let me see if I can get it here. We're going to, these are already done, so they're set okay already. And going to simply put it down there like that. That's it. That's the big deal. That's how long it takes. So, continuing to talk a little bit about Valentine's Day, something you make yourself, even something as simple as this, for someone you love, for a parent, for a child, for a friend, for a love interest, for a neighbor, for a friend you mail them to, for anybody. So this says we have to knead the red stuff after every little bit of heating. Something you make yourself and something you create, it's nice. It's nicer than something you just spend too much money on, like a single rose for like $10 that it might sell for in New York City. Again, maybe this year is different, maybe not. But things are a bit overpriced because they know, as my father would say, they gotcha. Lady Gaga Chromatica Oreos, bitches! How exciting is that? Okay, so I just said bitches, now I said it twice. I think that means our YouTube rating has to go under some sort of adult rating or something. Anyway, worth it for these. They are so beautiful. They are pink and they have green filling. I don't know if you can see that so well there, but they're so fun. Kneading our little red chocolate dots together. Again, time. Again, process. Again, not like, oh, it's done. Again, creative choices. Again, risk. Something new. I never tried these before. I'd never even seen them. I saw them in the store and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what that would be like. To be honest, it was an after Christmas sale. I think I got this for 40 cents or something. Why not try it? What's happening here? I seem to be frozen. I'm not sure. Can I move it along? I'm not sure. All right, well, I'm going to keep going just in case it's still recording, which I hope that it is. So if you can hear me, say yay, because I look frozen to me. All right, so I'm putting this back in the microwave, whether you can see me or not. Maybe another 10 seconds. And now we're going to dip some of the Lady Gaga Chromatica Oreos into the white chocolate. And my screen is frozen, so I can't see what you're seeing. And I don't know if it's working, but we're going to try. And, oh, we go. Looks like our red goop is ready. A celebration of love. Yeah. You know, I don't know if any of you have studied with Slava Dolgochev from the Moscow Art Theater. What an amazing human he is. And he's an expert on Chekhov. And I remember at one point in our studies we were talking about the cherry orchard and how at the end of Act 1, you know, everybody always thinks of the cherry orchard and thinks of Madame Ranevskaya and what's happening with her and her fading career and her losing the cherry orchard. But the events, as they spell out, you know, the main event of the first act happens in the very last moment. And it's just so marvelous that after all that's going on, Varya is taking Anya to bed. And Anya's so sleepy and Varya's so concerned about her, you know, after the long trip and all. And as she's putting her to bed, Pyotr, Russian for Peter, I presume, he sees her, and the very last moment, after all the things that happen at the end of that, well, let's just take a look, shall we? I always keep my Chekhov handy when I'm baking, or at all times. So Varya says, she's asleep, fast asleep, come my precious. And Anya is half asleep. Chekhov says, I'm so tired. Do you hear the bells, dearest uncle, mama and uncle? And Varya says, come my precious, come. Exits into Anya's room. And Pyotr Trofimov says tenderly, my sunlight, my springtime. Curtain. That is amazing. And the reason that happens, or rather the reason that is the main event of the act, the final event, after which no other events happen, is because love is always an event. So with everything else going on, love is an event. Marvelous. I'm going to try to shift this a little bit. Did that work? Didn't do a thing. Okay. So again, with all that's going on, we're having a second impeachment of the same president for the first time in American history. We're having a lot of things happening. We have Valentine's Day, we have President's Day weekend, we have the coronavirus pandemic continuing. And yet there's this moment, this day, for a celebration of love. And love is always an event. These are little dragies, which are very shiny, delicious. Well, I don't know that they're delicious. They're more decorative, but they're fun because they're so pretty. They're very hard sugar with a little metallic twist. I don't know if you can see them because my picture is frozen. I've got some crushed up candy canes from Christmas time. I can put those on top too. And that adds a nice little festive red something, although I do wish the red part would stand up. I have some little purple sugar. I can put that on one of them. I don't like to put stuff on here. Well, maybe that looks more Eastery. I don't like to put things that perhaps won't taste good. This is actual 14 karat gold flakes. I know that's a little crazy, but the person I am giving them to, I love so much. And although some of you may think that's Justin Trudeau, it's actually my very dear, wonderful husband. So there are so many things we can do to, maybe we'll make a chocolate one, right? We'll take the dark chocolate and we'll put some chocolate sprinkles on it for decoration. Or maybe, remember these imperial hearts, the cinnamon red hot hearts? Yeah. Those go over really big sometimes. I think they taste kind of terrible, but they're sort of a fun look, you know what I mean? And maybe we'll put some colored sprinkles around that one. Yeah, that's kind of fun. So this weekend, let's celebrate love. Let's celebrate one another. Let's celebrate our love of our work, even if it's work that we miss very much. Let's celebrate our love of creativity, our love of others, our love of ourselves, our love of the world. Let's celebrate the love in our lives, the love of the universe. I'll give you an example of that. This morning I was on a Zoom meeting and my power on the computer ran low And I thought, oh, I've got to run and get the cord. So I went in the other room to get the cord, and I came back, and I put the, I'm going to try doing some of this while you're here, and I put the cord into the computer. And I was thinking, why did the power run out right in the middle of my call? You know, feeling very complainy and sorry for myself. And then I noticed that I had wrapped the cord around my newly filled water glass. And I thought, uh-oh, that could, like, as I plugged it in, it could have pulled the water glass down right on top of my computer. And I thought, oh, that could be very dangerous. What would we do about that? And I really suddenly realized that was the love of the universe, not that said, oh, your computer's out of power. That was me not charging it. The love of the universe was, careful, don't spill your water. So for whatever reason, my computer, I'm cutting this off now with the little tip. My computer seems to be moving again. So I don't know if you can see these, and apologies if you haven't seen some of what we've done, but I'm going to try to draw a little heart maybe on this with this red stuff that I hope isn't too toxic. Let's see, there we go. Oh, look at that. It's just like a Pillsbury frosting. So one more little story. One of my many godchildren, our many godchildren, my partner and I, oh, I do like that. I'm going to spell the word love. We were at her 5th birthday party, and a cute little kid, but her dad put up a big, like a giant balloon, and said, I don't know if you can tell that that's love. He put up a giant balloon with a marker. You know, it was a thing they were doing, and said, now, honey, when your friends come, you want them to sign it with the marker. They're going to wish you a happy birthday, and they're going to say, you know, love, and then their name. So the kid it was her 5th birthday party. I think she was 5, and she was, oh, okay. So the first little boy arrives, who's from her class and around the same age, and she says to him, calling him by name, you know, you need to sign my balloon. And he takes the marker and he writes his name. And she says, you have to write happy birthday. And he writes happy birthday. And so he has happy birthday in his name, and then she says, write love, because that's, of course, what her dad told her people would do. So she said, write love. And the kid was a little confused by that, and he just kind of shied away. And she said, no, write love. And the kid stepped back and shook his head no, and she started screaming at him, write love! Write love! So my partner and I still laugh about that to this day. We'll say to one another, you know, if we're not feeling it, we'll say, write love! Hey, what's happening here? Let's get a little more of the red goop out of here. There we go. No, you don't want to do it? Okay. I guess not. Oh, there we go. All right. And you know what? They don't have to be perfect. Like any art or creativity, maybe they're just a little expression of you and where you're at. So many possibilities of what you can do. So those are my thoughts on this weekend celebrating creativity and love and Elizabeth Taylor, if you like. So I'm just sharing that with all of you and wishing you a very happy creativity and love weekend. And of course, I wish I had better lighting, because these might show up a little better, but when you bite into them, Chromatica! Have a little heart on them too. Isn't that cool? All right. Happy creativity and love weekend. Thanks for joining us.